but did not force Cornell into any stops. Both these goalies, great shot stoppers, in addition to being great athletes quarterbacking the clears. Now this is Thomas McConvey. Remember his name, 44 in white. He's matched up with Christian Clifford at the moment. McConvey, over his last 3 games, has scored 19 goals. He scored 7 in back-to-back games against Stony Brook and UAlbany. McConvey likely an All-American when those awards are announced. The America East's Offensive Player of the Year. Vermont going to try to set up his shot early and often. They've got other scoring options too. An offense that is scoring 13.6 goals per game. That's 20th in the nation. Fennick inside, Limoges again, knocked away. That ball on the turf. Limoges chasing after it with Loudon Sheehan. And Limoges wins the race to keep possession for UVM. 15 seconds to shoot it. Limoges wraps around, lefty turnaround shot. Krebs makes the save. Second save of the day for Brendan Krebs, making his 49th appearance of his career. The 4-year starter throws that ball away. It's on the turf for McCormack to chase after it and thrown out of bounds by the Jaspers. That is an uncharacteristic turnover on the clear. Manhattan, 3rd in the nation with a 91% clearance rate. Good job on the ride by Michael McCormack, David Klosterman, and the UVM attackmen. They get their second midfield attacking unit out there. James Basile with Jonas Hunter. McConvey stays out on the carpet. He's got a short stick on him. McConvey rears back, and Krebs stops it. First shot attempt of the day denied for McConvey, and that's picked up. It's a chance for Manhattan, breaking away, and Cornell the save. Ty O'Riordan, the one stomping into the attacking end, but Cornell with the denial. And Vermont easily clears that time after Manhattan's transition try was denied. 2 experienced goaltenders, both graduate students. Now this is Charlie Pope, a stud freshman that even as a midfielder often draws a big stick from opponents. Basile. McCormack, who's got the big lefty shot. Michael McCormack goes up top. That ball trickles past Krebs. It's an awkward one, but Michael McCormack puts Vermont in front. After Gukwa opened the scoring for the Jaspers, the Catamounts have answered with back-to-back goals. This is a Catamount team that is explosive, and as it was described on the ESPNU broadcast in the America East Championship game, this offense has spurt ability. On 2 separate occasions in the Vermont Championship win over UMBC, they scored 3 goals in under a minute. Those 6 goals were really the big difference in that game, a game in which Vermont came from behind for the win. It was their closest win all year. Normally when the Catamounts win, they've blown teams out. Of their 8 wins in conference for Vermont, 7 of them have been by 7 or more goals. Only that 2-goal win against the UMBC Retrievers in the America East title game was a close victory. Limoges finds Griffin Fennick, Krebs the save, Klosterman rebound, he can't tuck it home, and Manhattan gets the stop. This is a team very comfortable playing a lot of defense. They are often in possession of the ball for well under 50% of the time, but they're very efficient on the offensive end when they're in possession. It's a balanced offensive attack. 4 different goal scorers of 20 or more goals this year. McCoy on the short stick, Sharkey. First touch for Quinn Bowler. Sean McKinney, an all-conference first-teamer in back-to-back seasons. McKinney has his stick knocked loose on the slide. Alviti came to help. Now back up top for Gukwa. Nowhere to go on Jackson Canfield. Those two are going to be tangled up all night. Canfield probably Vermont's best one-on-one matchup defender. McCoy feeds in the middle. That ball was batted away from Jack Shanley, who was waiting in the middle. And again, Manhattan doesn't register a shot on target. 6:30 to go in the first. Vermont has scored back-to-back goals. Two teams who are both 0-1 all-time in the NCAA tournament. First round action on this gorgeous May evening in Burlington. A season ago, Vermont made their first NCAA appearance. They lost in a first round matchup with, at the time, number 3 Maryland. 17-11 was the final. Well, Vermont would love to see the Terrapins again. The winner of this game travels to College Park to take on the Terps. Klosterman has to scoop it up off the ground. He retreats behind the cage to hold it for the Cats. According to head coach Chris Feiss for UVM, as McConvey, he ripples the twine. Thomas McConvey's first of the afternoon, and it's a 3-0 Catamount run. 5:40 to go on the first. Vermont has opened their lead up to 2. First round of the NCAA tournament, live on ESPN+. Vermont 3, Manhattan 1 after the Catamounts surrendered the game's opening goal. They've bounced back with 3 in a row. UVM in the first round of the NCAA tournament looking to add on as Burke battles again with Baudilly, and Tommy Burke, the All-American, has another face-off win. That is a matchup that should really favor the Catamounts all afternoon. Baudilly individually on the season at 36%. He's the best Fogo on this Manhattan team according to percentage. A group that does so much well, but they have struggled on the face-offs this season. It's something that their coaching staff, led by Drew Kelleher, has not shied away from. Historically, it's an area where they've struggled as well. That's why they brought in a first-year assistant coach in the offseason. It's Doug Sage working with the face-off man. That's a right-handed slingshot, and it's a goal. McCormack just inside the upper corner. 4 unanswered for the Catamounts. And the offense is clicking for UVM. This is a Manhattan defense that is not used to this type of offensive attack, or at least this type of offensive success. Over the last 6 games, Manhattan has won 5 of them, and a big reason why has been their defense. Over the last 6, they're allowing just 9 goals per contest. But again, Tommy Burke is just going to set his offense up all evening long with possession. And the way this UVM team can score in bunches, it's going to need to be a Herculean effort from this Manhattan defense, especially with how this game has started. The Catamounts have scored 10 or more goals in their last 11 games. This is an offense led by Jake Bernhardt, assistant coach, that has really found its stride over the last 2 years. Basile has it knocked away, but it's picked up by Klosterman, and UVM holds it. Vermont also doing a great job of winning these ground balls so far. Pope deals it to Hunter, and Krebs the stop. Rebound outside the crease. It's knocked around, still bouncing loose. Hunter after it for the Catamounts. He touches shoulders with Matthew Scully, and Manhattan controls. A very important ground ball, but it's put back on the deck. How about that ride from UVM? Great speed from Gukwa to pull away from the Catamount ride. And now this is where Manhattan needs to answer. They won a low-scoring game in their conference championship over St. Bonaventure. 8-7 was the final. They trailed 1-0 after the first quarter in that game. But it was a big-time second quarter where Manhattan scored 4 goals to just 1 for the Bonnies. That really gave Manhattan that win. Nicolosi around a defender. That shot ricochets over the bar. Backing up the play is Walsh, the 6'5" attackman. Under 3 minutes to go in the first. First round action of the NCAA tournament. Manhattan playing in the NCAA tournament for the first time in 20 years. They last won the MAC Conference Championship in 2002. Malpica, he had a monster conference tournament. Justin Malpica, the graduate student who had just scored 1 goal on the year. But over his last 3 games, Malpica has scored 5. That shot came after the buzzer from Sean McKinney, and again, the Catamount defense stands tall. Not much going right at the moment for Manhattan. The Jaspers playing on the road. They're 3-4 on the road this year. Away from home in total, they're 4-5. A Catamount group that is very confident on this turf. 7-1 at home this year for UVM. And they've got a great crowd here cheering them on. Home turf advantage so far favoring the team in white. That's the home team, the Vermont Catamounts. Brock Haley, one of 9 first-team all-conference players for Vermont, both a program and conference record. Haley feeds McConvey. McCormack. Slide comes, so he deals it to Klosterman. Limoges from X wraps around. That ball knocked loose, and it ping-pongs to Krebs. Brendan Krebs was alert and ready on the spot to pick up that ricocheting ball. So Manhattan, with under 1:10 to go in the first, going to try to cut the Catamount lead down to 2. Bowler backs it out, nowhere to go around Stone Jacobs. Manhattan, a team that really goes almost 2 or 3 deep at their top 6 players on the attack. 3 attackmen, 3 midfielders. They rotate pretty frequently. A group that has a ton of balance and on any given game can have a variety of players hurt you. But so far, a Vermont defense that is 3rd in the country in scoring defense has held strong. A pair of saves for Ryan Cornell. Waiting until there's under 20 seconds, and now Lyons starts towards net. Sean McKinney for Bowler. Goes left hand, dishes it off. McKinney, pestered by Paul Governale. Getting late in the first quarter, under 5 seconds for Walsh. And a violation going against Manhattan. The Catamounts launch it the length of the field. McCormack picked it up, shot blocked. Limoges turn around, and as the quarter expires, he puts it past Krebs. Drew Kelleher, Manhattan's coach, wondering if it counted. He wants to check the clock. Vermont thinks they've got a fifth first quarter tally to go up 4. The fans are celebrating and the fight song is playing. We'll step aside and get confirmation on that Limoges goal when we return. You're watching the first round of the NCAA tournament live on ESPN+. It is Vermont 4, Manhattan 1. The late attempted shot from Liam Limoges that beat Brendan Krebs waved off officially after the horn sounded and the clock went to 0 for the late Limoges tally in the first quarter. So Vermont, who thought they went up 4, instead just has to settle, being up by 3 after 15 minutes. Tommy Burke against Baudilly, and it's Tommy Burke right off the draw, racing into the Catamount attacking end. Vermont has scored 4 unanswered after Manhattan started the scoring. Vermont has gotten a balanced start. McCormack has scored twice. McConvey and Limoges each with 1 goal. Fennick. Now McConvey. Thomas McConvey. Vermont, who likes to play what Coach Fifes calls a positionless offense, but that pass thrown away. McConvey and Klosterman not on the same page. An unforced Catamount error. Let's see if Manhattan can take advantage of that. A team that relies on their defense. It's a defense that really needs to anchor down. At this point, already a minute gone by in the second quarter. They're trailing by 3. And an offense that can play from behind, but they aren't as explosive as UVM's. And that's an unforced error. Vermont works on the ride and causes a Manhattan turnover. This Catamount team working hard. This Manhattan group, I told you in the first quarter, they clear the ball successfully. 3rd best in the country. Over 90% of the time on their clears, they do it without turning the ball over. Jonas Hunter quickly pressing the gas pedal. Feeds Limoges. That goes wide of the net. Backed up by Klosterman, and the Cats keep it. Manhattan is used to playing a lot of defense, so this tilted feeling of the opening quarter and change, something that Manhattan is used to. Limoges through traffic has it knocked away. That ball on the turf. The only one who sees it is Jonas Hunter. He keeps possession for UVM. Charlie Pope, a physical freshman on the all-rookie team in the America East, loves to lower the shoulder on the drive. It's a big-time rip. McCormack missile, and Vermont is up 4. 5 unanswered, and McCormack has an early hat trick. Man, when he lets one fly, it is tough to stop. His top shot velocity well over 100 miles an hour for McCormack. I would not want to be in front of his big lefty rip.
Vermont goal, his third of the game, scored by number 97, Michael McCormack.
Already, Vermont has put 8 shots on target. Brendan Krebs doing his best. He's made 4 saves in the first 17 minutes and 8 seconds, but he's also allowed 5 goals. Burke, again, right off the draw. He gets laid out in his pass behind Limoges. Nobody chasing the Catamount graduate student captain. UVM will hold. In this 9-game winning streak for Vermont, the offense has really exploded, scoring 16 goals a game over the 9-game win streak. Klosterman with room and another one. He swipes the carpet. It's all Vermont early. First of the day for Klosterman, and the Cats are cruising in the first half. With some fans still filing in, it is 6 straight Vermont goals and a late penalty called on Manhattan.
Vermont goal scored by number 10, David Klosterman.
A 1-minute penalty to Christian Lyons, and just like that, now Vermont can go on the man up. From bad to worse for Manhattan. A team playing in their first NCAA tournament since 2002. This Manhattan team now desperately needs a stop from their penalty kill. They haven't allowed a man-up goal over their last 3 games, but bad news, Vermont's man-up offense has really found its rhythm. A group that struggled early in the year, a bit surprising when you consider the other Vermont offensive statistics. But in particular, Thomas McConvey has really found his offensive stride. 5 man-up goals for McConvey alone over his last 3 games.
Manhattan penalty charge number 28, Christian Lyons.
Klosterman, McConvey waiting in the middle. McCormack's had the hot hand. He plays catch with Haley. That's McConvey. Klosterman at goal line extended. Haley. Stone Jacobs. McCormack. McConvey, bullseye! And Vermont has scored 7 in a row. A statement first half from Vermont. McConvey with his 2nd of the day. They score on the man up, and it's a timeout taken by the Jaspers. All Vermont so far, midway through the 2nd quarter. We'll be right back in just a few minutes as Vermont hosts Manhattan on ESPN+. Vermont 7, Manhattan 1. In the first round of the NCAA tournament, Vermont has opened up a 6-goal lead with 11:26 to go in the second quarter. Vermont has dominated possession as Tommy Burke has been clinical at the faceoff X, but Vermont's offense has also been clinical. In a first-round matchup between the MAC champs, that's the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, and the America East champs, the Vermont Catamounts are trying to say, look, we are better than what everybody thinks. If you watch this team play, Vermont has passed the eye test all year. But because of a relative lack of strength of schedule in conference, the domination in which Vermont has performed with over the last 2 months has at times gone unappreciated. That shot from McCormack goes well high. Already a hat trick for McCormack. He's got 3 goals. McConvey has a pair. This is James Basile. A Manhattan defense that is not quite used to getting this type of early punch. Jonas Hunter wrestling with a short stick. Flag comes out. Hunter still has it. And Vermont moving it around after the flag. Charlie Pope bulldozes inside. Save made Krebs, but there's the whistle. Penalty coming up against Manhattan. After Vermont scored on the man up just moments ago, they can go back with the power play unit. A unit that scores just 26% of the time, but they've gone on as many power plays as just about anybody in the nation. This is their 67th man-up try of the year. That's 3rd most in the country. So they draw a lot of contact, really force opponents to defend often down a man. And while they haven't been all that efficient at times on the man-up, they have done a good job of drawing those penalties and at that point holding possession. McConvey gets the step and picks the corner. Vermont is up 8-1. Dominant start. Well, the winner of this game travels to College Park to take on the top team in the land, Maryland. If you're at all a college lacrosse fan, you know just how good Maryland is this year. Undefeated, the cream of the crop in the Big Ten. They've been number 1 almost since the first week of the season. But I tell you what, they are probably frustrated that they are potentially going to have to face this UVM team that is just absolutely on one. Vermont trying to win their 10th consecutive game. They've got All-Americans at the face-off X. That's Tommy Burke. And Manhattan will have it. After a violation on Burke, he thought he won the face-off there, thought he was going to get the benefit of the doubt, was pointing in his direction, but the official disagreed. So Manhattan, really with their first offensive possession of the entire second quarter. Over 5 minutes go by before they go on offense. Tommy Burke was clinical winning faceoffs, and Vermont's offense was putting away their chances. Kyle Gukwa against Canfield. It's really tough to get your hands free against this Vermont defense. Nicoloso feeds inside, and Walsh ends the drought. The 8-0 Vermont run comes to an end. Liam Walsh has his first of the day. After Manhattan scored first, it was all Vermont for a while, but a much-needed goal from Walsh. She and Gukwa now each with 1. And Manhattan can take a deep breath. Maybe that will settle them down a bit. Not that I think they've been necessarily playing nervous. But man, when you give up 8 goals in a row, that is tough to respond from, especially this early in the game. The Catamounts sending out their first midfield unit. Fennick, Haley, and McConvey. Joining McCormack, Limoges, and Klosterman. Klosterman at X. Had the slide for a moment, couldn't find Limoges, angling towards the crease. This time McConvey drawing Luke Packer. This is McConvey and Packer. Quick double team comes. He has to get rid of it to McCormack. Manhattan now starting to zone up on defense, changing up their defensive look. McConvey gets the feed, but he can't put it past Krebs. Shot clock reset. Krebs made the save. The 5th save of the day for Brendan Krebs. Klosterman backed it up though, so UVM holds on to it. This Vermont team, a group that cruised through the conference schedule. Dating back to last year, they've actually won 12 games in a row in the America East. 6-0 in regular season play this year, plus 2 conference tournament wins. Again, against the zone Manhattan defense. 8 minutes to play in the second quarter. And Vermont is just 2 goals away from getting to the double-digit mark. McCormack rears back and bruises Brendan Krebs, but he's like a brick wall, keeps it out and outlets. Christian Clifford, right down the pipe. The big stick Clifford looks off his man, but has it poked away. Canfield knocked it free, and Fennick scoops it off the carpet. Those turnovers, uncharacteristic of Manhattan. They have not helped themselves out either. Timeout taken by Vermont, 7:27 to go in the second. Manhattan has stopped the 8-0 run, but UVM up 6, still in the second quarter. Vermont 8, Manhattan 2. This Jaspers team who's won 3 in a row and 5 of their last 6, now in need of a stop. Coached by Drew Kelleher in his 7th season, he has put together quite the turnaround for this Manhattan program. It was a program that when he took the job, he said he was warned by many. This is not a program you want to take over. But he and associate head coach John O'Dearna took over the program and have built it up to a group that is making conference tournaments, making conference titles, and now making national tournaments. After winning the regular season MAC title a year ago, they lost in the conference championship, but now this year made it back to the conference title game, and now are looking for their first NCAA tournament win in 20 years. Of course, Drew Kelleher was a Vermont Catamount in his playing days. Liam Limoges put down to the turf, but he scores anyways. Vermont's offense is just feeling it. It is a warm day in Burlington, and they are just feeding off of that heat. I'm not sure if the May sunshine is hotter or this Vermont offense. 9 first half goals.
Number 46, Liam Limoges.
The lead back to 7 for Vermont. They scored 8 in a row after surrendering the first goal of the game. The Catamount defense hasn't had to do much work. Long clear from Canfield to Pope, and UVM with 6:35 to play in the first half can once again set up shop. Matching their largest lead of the day, they respond to the goal from Liam Walsh with one of their own. McConvey and McCormack already with hat tricks. Limoges and Klosterman with 1 goal apiece. Manhattan continues this zone defense for the moment, trying to switch it up. Klosterman on the dodge. Pope, Hunter, Limoges. Limoges again with Charlie Pope. Jonas Hunter thought about stepping into one. Pope uses the pick. Manhattan's defense starting to rotate. Under 10 seconds to shoot it for Klosterman. Tiptoeing around, goal line extended. He stepped into the crease, crossing that imaginary barrier. Manhattan will have it after the Catamount turnover. Under 5.5 to play in the first half. The time is now for this Jasper offense. Here's Liam Walsh, the most recent goal scorer. Ryan Cornell in cage for UVM has made a couple of saves, just the pair. 4 shots on target for Manhattan. That's in comparison to Vermont's 16 shots on target. Malpica got rid of it. Pitch and catch down low, and Cornell watches it aside. Kyle Gukwa, the one who was on the doorstep, tried to beat Cornell along the turf, but could not get it past him. And again, it's a one and done for Manhattan. They can't turn it over on the ride. An easy clearance from Vermont. Two programs never with a win in the NCAA tournament. Vermont trying to continue what has so far been a dominant flexing of their muscles. Fennick cradles backwards. Nowhere to go on Blake Lothian. The ball finds McConvey. Can Vermont find a matchup they like? Limoges, again with Lothian in front. That was a short stick, but Klosterman dishes it off. Patient offense on this approach from the Catamounts. McCormack gets it on the underhand feed from McConvey. Inside, Limoges sandwiched. He falls on top of the ball. And that's a delay of game. Vermont loses it on back-to-back possessions. Under 3.5 to go in the second quarter. Packer finds Nicolosi. Who will have an answer for Manhattan? Justin Malpica off the bench. Malpica has the hot hand. A graduate student that, according to head coach Drew Kelleher, really begged to return this year and use his extra year of eligibility. Tough angle shot. That rings the woodwork. That came from Jake Nicolosi. But again, Cornell does enough to keep it out. Shot clock reset. Walsh uses a Nicolosi pick. No, he doesn't. He'll retreat. Justin Malpica really had not made an impact after returning for his graduate year until the conference tournament last weekend. In that conference tournament, he scored 4 of his 6 goals on the year, including a hat trick in the championship game against St. Bonaventure. He scored 3 of the 8 goals for Manhattan and ended up winning the conference tournament MVP. That's knocked away, and Nick Alviti causes the turnover. Well, I've told you about how good the Catamount offense is. Well, how about a moment for the Catamount defense? They cause more turnovers than anybody in their conference, 9th in the nation, causing 9.8 turnovers a game. And nobody's better at it than Alviti. Charlie Pope shakes his man. McCormack feels heat from behind. Alviti, who forced that last cough up, 17th in the nation with 1.7 caused turnovers a game. I'm sure a guy that head coach Chris Fifes, who's a defensive guy, just loves coaching. So many big physical dudes on this Vermont defense. Under 90 seconds to go first half. 35 seconds for Vermont to shoot it. Been a while since Vermont got a good look on Brendan Krebs. This Manhattan defense might have found a good adjustment since they've gone zone, throwing Vermont off just a touch on the offensive end. 5 goals, though, in the second quarter for the Catamounts have them up 7, matching their largest lead. A group that I'm sure would love revenge against Maryland, who ended their season last year. Tall pass outside the reach of Pope. He'll let that one roll out of bounds. The shot clock was winding down anyways. 45 seconds for Manhattan to work with. They've scored 1 goal in each quarter so far. I'm sure they would love to just bag a second here late in the first half. Maybe that's obvious. Timeout taken by Manhattan. But again, it is all about just feeling some energy right now. Every coach I talk to just tells me about how big energy is. And in particular, if you can carry energy into the halftime locker room. They often talk about splitting the game up into segments where if they can carry the energy from one quarter to the next, from one half to the other, then that really bodes well for how they start the next segment. And right now, Vermont has slowed down just a bit. The crowd has quieted ever so slightly. It's been a while since Vermont beat Brendan Krebs. So Manhattan, with their 7th-year head coach Drew Kelleher, who mostly handles the offense for this Manhattan team, time for them to draw something up. Drew Kelleher, just such an interesting story. He was the unanimous coach of the year in the MAC last year. In his 7th season, he has totally turned around this Manhattan program that when he arrived, they did not have any full-time assistant coaches or strength coaches. They upgraded the facilities on campus a couple of years ago, and over the last 3 years, they're over 500, both overall and in conference play. The first 3 years when he was a head coach, they had just 1 conference win in 17 tries. So a program that no matter what the result is today, trending up. And of course, Coach Kelleher coaching in a familiar spot, the former Catamount great, a Vermont attackman who graduated in 2009, majored in education when he was on campus in Burlington, and in his senior year finished 11th in the country, scoring 2.5 goals a game. Well, now Drew Kelleher, though, has returned home as the head coach for Manhattan, where both his parents went to school and his grandfather played basketball as a Jasper. So 2 schools that Coach Kelleher very attached to, but I'm sure he's hoping his team can mount what is a monster mountain to climb. Coming out of the timeout, Justin Malpica. Gukwa gets it back. Kyle Gukwa. Walsh for Sean McKinney. Under 10 seconds for McKinney. He's matched up with Tim Manning. Getting late in the first half, 2 seconds. Wrap around for Walsh as the horn goes. It's watched wide as that was Jack Shanley who took the last second shot. It's Vermont 9, Manhattan 2 at the half. The Catamounts use an 8-0 run in the middle of the first to take a monster lead at the break. 30 minutes to play from Virtue Field, live on ESPN+. 30 minutes to play in the opening round action between Vermont and Manhattan. The America East champs Vermont leading the MAC champs Manhattan by 7. After Manhattan scored the game's first goal, an 8-0 Catamount run has opened up a big advantage. With 30 minutes to play, Tommy Burke taking the draw for the Catamounts. He also dominated the first half. Sean Baudilli had no answer at the faceoff X. Burke, with that win, has now won 12 of 14 faceoffs at the break. This Catamount team has controlled this game in basically every facet. Two teams looking for their first ever NCAA tournament win. Manhattan lost to Georgetown all the way back in 2002. Vermont made their first NCAA tournament appearance a year ago. They lost in the first round to Maryland. It's McConvey. Oh, Thomas McConvey. He stays unconscious. 4 of them in this game alone. Over the last 4 games, McConvey has now scored 23 times. I would like to see somebody stop Thomas McConvey. I don't know if there's many people out there right now that want to get in front of the big fella. The largest lead of the day for the Catamounts, now up by 8, 10-2 the score. Manhattan, a defense that allows under 10 goals a game on average. And Tommy Burke just keeps on doing it. He's won back-to-back faceoffs to open the second half. Now Burke 13 of 15 on the day. We knew it would be an area of struggle coming in for Manhattan. As a team, they are 72 out of 72 in the nation of faceoff percentage. Last in the country at 31%. They do so much else well, though. They have just been unable to get any possessions because of how often Vermont is scoring. A Manhattan team comfortable relying on defense has been overwhelmed by this Catamount attack. Fennick, Limoges, Klosterman, McConvey, and McCormack. He's got a first half hat trick. Low pass, and Haley can't handle it. He tracks it down along the sideline and keeps possession for the Catamounts. 20 seconds to shoot. Fennick got a step. Feeds Limoges. Underhand submarine save made. Flag comes out of the pocket as down behind the play is Griffin Fennick. Brendan Krebs, who performed pretty well in the first half considering all the shots he faced. 7 saves on the day for Krebs. But he just faced 16 shots on target in the first half alone. Fennick to his feet gets a good hand from this Catamount crowd. Hosting their first ever NCAA tournament game at Virtue Fields. They've never hosted an NCAA game. The penalty called on Matthew Scully. It's a 1-minute ban up for the Catamounts. They went 1 for 2 in the opening 30 minutes with the extra attacker.
Manhattan penalty charge number 14, Matthew Scully. 1 minute for unnecessary roughness.
Unnecessary roughness the call after the hit on Fennick. McConvey feeds McCormack. It's another lefty rocket. McCormack and McConvey both light the lamp, and Vermont is up 9. Just over 2 minutes into the third quarter, and Vermont has kept on rolling. I tell you what, I know the winner of this game takes on the clearly most dominant team in the country all year. That's Maryland. Undefeated on the season are the Terrapins. But man, this Vermont team, I think, can play with anybody. It was something that in the championship game on the call, Drew Carter and Coach Don Zimmerman talked about. They passed the eye test. So many things that Vermont does well statistically, but this team has size, speed, shooting ability, lots of great passers. They're top 10 in the nation in assists per game, and an experienced defense. They play in a conference that has at times struggled to give them much trouble and challenges. So a lot of teams, I think, and a lot of people, when assessing Vermont, as there's a timeout taken on the field, I think a lot of teams, when they're assessing Vermont, struggle to figure out how exactly powerful are they. Timeout taken by the Catamounts. We'll keep it right here. 12:32 to go in the third. Vermont is up by 9. Well, this team played a really interesting non-conference schedule. Tough games on the road at Duke. They hosted Utah, a game where they lost by 1. They lost 6 games in their non-conference schedule. 5 of them, though, were by 1 goal or 2 goals or less. So this is a team that lost a lot of close games. They also lost a 1-goal game against current 8th seed in the NCAA tournament, Brown. So this Vermont team has played some big-time opponents. Duke, they traveled to Duke to open the year, then had a quick turnaround in their game against Utah. It was a non-conference schedule that when I talked to head coach Chris Fifes, he said he scheduled lots of games in close proximity on purpose. He wanted to schedule games with quick turnarounds against teams that he knew would really test his team. Well, the quick turnaround are really helping Vermont late in this season. This is their 3rd game in 7 days, and they look fresh. They look well prepared. And they've played really tough, challenging opponents. And Maryland is a different beast. There's no denying. But I think there's a real chance Vermont gives Maryland at least a tough first-round matchup. And, of course, there's a bit of a revenge factor as well, as Maryland was the team that ended the Catamounts season last year. A team for Vermont that was ranked in the top 20 at the time of the loss to Maryland. As of now, Vermont just receiving votes in the top 20 poll. So again, that's where they're hard to assess because they play in the America East, a conference that is not a lacrosse powerhouse. Vermont coming out of the timeout, back in possession. But I think you watch this team play, and there's a lot that looks like a Power 5 school potentially. Basile. Against this Manhattan defense that has been so tough to crack. That pass tough to handle. Klosterman couldn't reel it in. McCormack chasing after it along with Darian Blando. And it's Blando who comes away with it. Outlet comes to Krebs, and Manhattan controls. Now they turned it over twice in the first half on the clears. 9 of 11 for them on the day, clearing the ball. As a team on the year, they clear it very efficiently. And there's an efficient clear. The outlet comes through the midfield. Matthew Scully walks it into the attacking third. And now Manhattan has their first offensive possession of the second half. Ryan Cornell has made 3 saves in cage for the Catamounts. Only 5 shots on target for Manhattan. That's in contrast to the 19 shots that Vermont has put on cage. Turning the corner is Shanley. He puts that one low and wide. Jack Shanley could not beat Cornell. 4 minutes into the third quarter. Vermont with their largest lead up 9. Jake Nicolosi. That shot into the side of the netting. Cornell watched it wide from Sean McKinney. Stone Jacobs motoring forward. Reeled in Nick Alviti. It's Alviti. Look out. Save made Krebs. Oh, the big fella was rumbling down the field. Alviti with 8 goals on the year with the big stick. He's as effective as any long stick midi in the nation on the offensive end. And Alviti, who scored 3 times in the last 3 games, was hungry for another one in transition. But the lead stays at 9 for the Catamounts. Back to McKinney. And Manhattan will substitute. They get Quinn Bowler on the field in addition to Christian Lyons with McKinney, Walsh, Gukwa, and Shanley. Bowler, Gukwa, Walsh. Working on Canfield. Gets around him to Sharkey. Now Bowler. Head fakes and dives. Gukwa. Lyons backing it out. Nick Alviti stalking Lyons all the way out towards midfield before he races down the sideline. Walsh, he's got 1 of 2 goals. He dips inside and beats Cornell. Liam Walsh, his second today. The Manhattan bench can celebrate. Liam Walsh has his 28th of the year. 11-3. Vermont still up by 8. Here's a look at the Walsh dodge. Beats Jacobs along goal line extended, and the slide from Will Jones was just a second late. A good look there from our production crew at that pretty move from Walsh. But now back to center circle at the face-off X, where Tommy Burke, the All-American, has had his way with whoever Manhattan has thrown out there. And it's Burke again, this time against a big stick in the midfield. Hunter Newman took that face-off. Newman taking face-offs today for the first time all season. And again, it was Burke, almost routine, wins the draw and has Vermont with 9 minutes to go in the third, back with the rock. Griffin Fennick back in the game after absorbing a big hit minutes ago. David Klosterman, McConvey, McCormack, Haley. Manhattan packing in their defense. Vermont has gotten some good looks inside, but a lot of their goals today are just big-time shots from distance from McCormack and McConvey. Fennick tries his luck from downtown, out of bounds, and Klosterman backs it up. Good effort on the dive, trying to keep the play alive by Tygo O'Riordan. One of the key defenders for Manhattan, O'Riordan the short stick. Fennick again from distance, and Krebs into the cross. Already double-digit saves for Brendan Krebs, the fifth-year senior. Trying his best to keep Vermont's offense at bay. Easier said than done, though, even with his 10 saves on the afternoon. Under 8 minutes to play in the third, and Vermont is holding a comfortable 8-goal lead. One of two play-in games going on today. Of course, the other happening right now also on ESPN+. Delaware and Robert Morris. The winner of that one takes on Georgetown and their stingy defense as the number 2 team in the nation. The winner of this game gets their first ever NCAA tournament win and earns a trip to College Park, Maryland. Nicolosi denied by Cornell. He was off balance, stumbling back into the cage. Nicolosi, though, denied on a bouncing shot. And here goes Patrick Murphy. He's got 3 goals on the year, most of them in transition from defense to offense. Murphy gets rid of it. And again, Vermont with possession. 7 minutes to go in the third. Their pace slowing a bit here in the third quarter. Murphy will exit. Haley joins the party in the offensive end. And now Vermont has their top midfield unit out there on the attacking end. Klosterman. Limoges feeds Haley around the horn to Fennick. Fennick. This is McConvey. Room for McCormack. Down low. Oh, a kick save. Krebs kept that one out with his left leg. Ball still loose on the rebound. And McConvey sweeps it up. Manhattan got the stop. Another big-time save from Krebs, but they could not control the ricochet. For a team trying to mount a comeback, man, those 50-50 balls have not gone their way today either. McConvey, sidearm sling. That was wide all the way. Klosterman beats Krebs, who went Superman diving after that ball. Under 6 minutes to play in the third. Fennick threads the needle. Krebs again stops Klosterman from a point-blank range, and this time Manhattan controls it, at least for a moment. They throw it out of bounds again. This time it was Luke Packer trying to connect with Loudon Sheehan. And again, Manhattan looks uncomfortable against the Vermont Ride. As the sun is setting on a gorgeous May evening at Virtue Field in Burlington, Vermont, a packed house has loved what they've seen from their Catamounts today. And Manhattan has struggled to get out of their own way in moments. Thread the needle again. This one picked off. Helping out on defense this time is Jake Nicolosi. He's the one who had the INT. And weaving is Sheehan through the midfield. Can Manhattan cut the deficit that was once at 9 down to 7? They've scored 1 goal in every quarter so far. Justin Malpica, can he get anything going? That ball knocked free, loose through the middle. Ryan Cornell, the big hit. He puts Shanley on the ground. It's going to stay with Manhattan as Cornell came flying out of his cage. Bowler on the restart. Gukwa to Shanley. Bounces it back to Gukwa. Trying to feed in the middle. Goes straight away for Walsh. He's got 2 of the 3 Manhattan goals. Gukwa, goal line extended. Slide from Manning, helping out the defense. Shot clock back under 60 seconds with 4 minutes to play in the third quarter. Malpica. Gukwa swims around Manning. Slides upfield, puts that shot wide. Canfield is after it and backs it up. Malpica tried to go downhill, but Cornell had it covered. Cornell has made 5 saves now on the afternoon. He's only faced 8 shots on target. His counterpart, Brendan Krebs, has been forced to make 11 saves. Krebs is used to needing to see a high volume of shots. It's something that has been a part of this Manhattan game plan all season just because of their face-off struggles. But this is more than Krebs is even used to. 22 shots on target. Pope, Jonas Hunter, McCormack. Fosterman tried to pump fake, feeds Basile. Hunter has that knocked away. It's Luke Packer who goes after it. Knocked away for a moment, but he got it on a bounce. Packer, a good cause turnover, setting up Manhattan. A little bit of back and forth action here in the third. Governale strips him from behind, knocking it away from McKinney. Cornell after the ground ball, and it's picked up by Will Gator Jones. The Florida man, Will Jones, who his teammates called Gator, corral background ball. And now Paul Governale. Back to Basile, and the Catamounts in control. Vermont led 9-2 at halftime. It's been a big adjustment from the Manhattan defense. They have really dug their heels in here in the third. Of course, with Vermont's explosive attack, that could change in the next 2 minutes. But as of now, this has been the best quarter for Manhattan today. McConvey, he rings it up. Thomas McConvey again. Make it 5 for the big fella. McConvey has now scored 5 or more goals in 4 consecutive games. The man gets that lefty shot free, and more often than not, he's beating whoever you've got in front of him. And it doesn't even matter what game plan you use. Manhattan has tried to zone. They've tried to go man-to-man. And McConvey has had the answer. The assist goes to Griffin Fennick, his second of the day. And it's Tommy Burke again. This might go as an underrated moment of this game, or at least an underrated story. But Tommy Burke has set Vermont up all day long, and Vermont's offense has taken advantage. A motion offense for UVM. Head coach Chris Fife says he wants it to look positionless. Jump shot, and Lemos, another one. Liam Lemos leapt in the air and slings it past Brendan Krebs. A 10-goal Vermont lead, and we'll take a break. A minute 18 to go in the third. Vermont up 10, trying to win for the first time in the NCAA tournament, live on ESPN+. A 10-goal Catamount lead, cruising in the first round of the NCAA tournament. They're looking at a matchup with Maryland later on this week, as the Catamounts on this Wednesday evening have dominated Manhattan from the jump. After Manhattan scored first, so I guess I shouldn't say from the jump. Manhattan, the first goal of the game, but then Vermont scored 8 in a row, and they, since that opening tally, have gone on this great run to open up a 10-goal lead. Tommy Burke wins another face-off, and Vermont controls it. With just over a minute to go in the third, this Catamount team looking for their first ever NCAA tournament win, hosting for the first time ever in postseason history in the NCAA tournament. A great crowd here on hand. Official attendance just announced. Over 1,600 fans here on this gorgeous evening. 1,611 fans, to be precise, have packed Virtue Fields. After a dominant regular season, Vermont has won 9 straight games. Just over 15 minutes to play, and Vermont letting the clock wind. They've gotten a 5-goal performance from Thomas McConvey and 4 goals from Michael McCormack. Limoges. That pass tough to handle for McConvey. Out towards midfield. Canfield bats it beautifully. Backhand to the stick. Didn't prevent the over and back. From distance, McCormack. Save made Krebs. 13-3. UVM up 10. Headed to the fourth. 15 minutes as Vermont tries to close it out and clinch the matchup with Maryland. 15 minutes to play in the first round matchup between the Vermont Catamounts and the Manhattan Jaspers. The Catamounts, the America East champions, while the Jaspers won their second MAC conference title in their program history. They topped St. Bonaventure in the conference championship earlier this week, but they have been overmatched by a Vermont team today. Tommy Burke has been electric at the face-off spot. And here comes the big fella. Nick Alviti feeds Limoges, pump fakes, save made Krebs. He denied Limoges from point-blank range. Man, Brendan Krebs has allowed 13 goals today, but he has been fantastic. Not often you hear that. That is just how much pressure this Vermont attack has put on Brendan Krebs. While Vermont's goalie Ryan Cornell has made 7 saves, that is the 12th stop of the afternoon for Krebs. This game could be even more out of hand if Krebs weren't standing on his head at times. Liam Walsh, he's got 2 of the 3 goals for Manhattan. Low pass picked up by Sean McKinney. McKinney! The Jaspers keep it. Shanley backing up the play. Justin Malpica. Walsh from downtown. Cornell makes the stop. From that distance, Ryan Cornell feels like he's going to save it often. During the Vermont 9-game winning streak, Ryan Cornell has been playing his best lacrosse. In the winning streak, he's allowed under 6 goals a game. That's a 5.8 goals against average. And his save percentage is 62.3%. Cornell has absolutely caught fire in his second year as the starter in net for UVM. This year he won the America East Defensive Player of the Year award and might be headed towards some All-America honors as well. Cornell does a lot for this Catamount team, also quarterbacking the clear, an area where they have been clinical this evening. Not much that Vermont hasn't done well tonight, of course. McConvey. Fosterman and Limoges behind the cage. They play pitch and catch. Space for Haley. "90 seconds into the fourth. The score has not changed. Vermont remains up 10. A trip to Maryland to take on the Terrapins awaits. Likely these Catamounts. Inside, McConvey can't get the feed. That's what this Manhattan defense does really well. They can collapse on you. Vermont, to Manhattan's credit, the Catamounts offense has not gotten many good looks at the top of the crease. When they've scored, it's been mostly because their big-time shooters, McConvey and McCormack, have made some great rips from downtown. Justin Malpica across the midway line and Manhattan in the attacking end. Nicolosi. Again, Cornell, the denial. And Cornell comes out of the crease. He's after the ground ball, but instead picking it up is Patrick Murphy. Another save for Cornell, and the Catamounts look to clear. Too tall for Danny Manning, twin brother of Tim Manning. The Catamounts with 2 twins on this, or 2 pairs of twins on this roster. Tim Manning and Thomas McConvey both start. Danny Manning Jr. comes off the bench, as does Jonathan McConvey. Limoges, no-look feed. McCormack winds up and connects. Another one for big Michael McCormack. His 5th of the night. He's also got an assist. How about that cross-crease feed? A no-look dime from Limoges. The largest lead of the day for Vermont. They're up 11. That trip to College Park to take on the Terrapins getting closer and closer for UVM. That matchup will take place on Sunday, May 15th, scheduled for a 12 p.m. start against the number 1 team in the land. Again, Tommy Burke, I don't even need to tell you, he's got the face-off win. Burke last season was an All-American. He was one of the best in the nation with a face-off percentage of 69%. Hasn't been quite as dominant this year, but still, Burke's 7th in the country this season at 61%. He's the best face-off man in Vermont's program history and can take over games like he has done today. But the offense has to pay off Tommy's hard work, and they have done exactly that. Pump fake from Limoges. Pope. Hunter was off balance. A diving attempt, but Charlie Pope leveled, put on the ground by Blake Lothian. Flag comes out after the hit. A 50-50 ground ball. Rare that you see Charlie Pope on the receiving end of a big-time hit like that. The freshman Pope, built like a Mack truck, used to laying out hits like that himself. The hit was delivered by senior defender and All-Mac second-teamer Blake Lothian. Part of this Manhattan Jaspers defense that has a first-team All-Conference defender, Luke Packer, 2 All-Mac second-teamers, Christian Clifford and Blake Lothian, and then they've got a 2-time MAC first-team All-Conference goalie in Brendan Krebs. So it's a defense that is not used to getting hit like this, but Vermont's offense has done damage. 2 penalties on that play. Unnecessary roughness on Blake Lothian. And Luke Packer gets 1 minute for slashing. So Vermont going on a 6-on-4. The most recent man-up chance for the Catamounts. They can use as much clock as they want, both those penalties. McConvey throws that pass. It ticked off of a Jasper. Klosterman there to keep it. Both penalties officially called at the exact same time. 30 seconds remaining on the penalties to Packer and Lothian. Klosterman with Haley. I thought McConvey might shoot that one. Klosterman wraps around. Krebs has it. Brendan Krebs continues to just play his game. As much as Vermont has tested him, he's had all the answers for the most part. The 14th save of the day for Krebs. But now into the attacking end for Manhattan, where they have not had much possession, but they also haven't had much success. Ryan Cornell has made 8 saves of his own in net. Malpica tries to turn the corner. Walsh finds Guqua. Nicolosi pressured backwards on the short stick. Guqua's shot way off the mark as he got hit from behind by Stone Jacobs on the check. Under 15 seconds for the Jaspers offense. Jake Shanley. Now the clock under 10 seconds to put a shot on target. Nicolosi. Space, shot, saved Cornell. He denies Malpica. But they lose it, going back to the Jaspers. Shot clock reset after Cornell controlled. Nicolosi. Trying to get some space on Gator Jones. Spin move from Guqua through contact, and Cornell has it. Now watch Ryan Cornell go on the clear. The best athlete on this team, according to Catamount coaches. He finds Sharkey. Pass too tall for Limoges. Vermont looked dangerous in transition, but Sharkey couldn't attack with the graduate student attackman Limoges. And it's going back to Manhattan. A program that has completely turned it around, these Jaspers. They were in a rough spot when Drew Kelleher took over his post as head coach 7 years ago. But he's got this team that he referred to as a program that he saw a lot of potential in, a group that he knew with the right care, he could really build it into a powerhouse in the MAC. Bowler gives it to Walsh. Room to shoot, but from long range, he turns around and Cornell shrugs it aside. That might have gotten blocked before it got to Cornell. Shot clock does not reset, so yeah, that took a deflection before getting to Cornell's cage. Lions for Bowler. That pass tough to handle and outside the reach of Sean McKinney. Uncharacteristic turnovers today for the Jaspers. Coming into the afternoon, they were second in the country in turnovers per game, turning it over less than 14 times a day. They've turned it over well more than that on this evening. They had turned it over 8 times at the half, but that's picked off, and the net is open. Picked off by Gukwa. He's got an open cage for a moment, but Cornell scrambles back. So Manhattan got the turnover, but Gukwa couldn't take advantage immediately. Under 7 minutes to play now. The Catamounts made their first ever NCAA tournament a season ago when they won the conference tournament after finishing second in the regular season. This year they went undefeated in the conference regular season play. Cruised through the America East tournament after a pretty good test by UMBC. Good move by Lyons to get free. He finds Malpica. Sharkey dispossesses him on a nice poke check, but Malpica picks it back up. Timeout taken by Manhattan. 6:22 to go in the fourth quarter, and Vermont is up big on the Jaspers. A trip to Maryland on the line. Vermont will try to close it out when we return.
The winner of today's
Coming out of the Drew Kelleher timeout for Manhattan, they're down 11 with the ball. First round NCAA tournament action live on ESPN+. Thanks so much for still being with us. Brian McLaughlin here with you. It's been a pleasure on this beautiful Wednesday evening. A great crowd on hand and hopefully plenty of you watching back at home as well. Vermont has dominated almost from the get-go. After allowing the first goal of the game, Vermont scored the next 8. And that's put on the deck by Manhattan coming out of the timeout. And the Jaspers turn it back over. Exasperation on the sideline from head coach Drew Kelleher. You can see him just at the top of your screen for a moment. before Patrick Murphy cleared the ball for UVM. Kelleher with his hands on his head, shrugging as it's turnovers that have hurt his offense and unstoppable offense from the Catamounts that have, in the end, doomed this Jaspers team. They knew they'd be at a disadvantage at the face-off X. Tommy Burke has taken advantage of a Manhattan team that has not been able to find a FOGO that has been effective. As a team, they're at just 31% on the face-offs this year. But Manhattan had a game plan coming in, and they just have been unable to execute it quite as well as they would have hoped. Charlie Pope, tough angle. He rings it up. Top corner for the freshman. Charlie Pope etches his name into the score sheet. After he scored a pair of goals in the conference championship game, Charlie Pope has his first of the evening. Charlie Pope, the 6-foot, 240-pound freshman. Talking with head coach Chris Fifes earlier this week about Pope, he says that we went down to Baltimore, and when we were recruiting him, we just saw a matchup nightmare. A lot of people overlooked Charlie because of his size. He wasn't as fast as everybody else. Wasn't as agile as a Dodger. But we saw that size, according to Coach Fifes, and we said he is going to be tough to guard for any short stick that's in our league. He's so big and physical and tough to take the ball away from him. And then any long stick that gets put on him creates a mismatch elsewhere for the rest of the UVM attackmen. Manhattan with the face-off win, they control with under 5 minutes to go. Vermont with their largest lead of the day, up 12. Right now, this Catamount defense matching their best performance of the season. They allowed 3 goals twice this year against NJIT and in their first matchup with UMBC. 12-3 and 14-3 wins respectively. Flag comes out as it's carried by Nicolosi. Manhattan will go on the man up momentarily. Sean McKinney beats his man. McKinney can't beat Cornell though. Ryan Cornell has done his part. Save after save for Cornell. He's now got 11 saves on the afternoon. Just 1 goal past halftime for Manhattan. Cornell has been fantastic. The defensive player of the year in the America East. Vermont is getting premier performances from their stars. Nicolosi, back to McKinney. Kyle Gukwa, oh, great dodge, but again, can't beat Cornell. Gukwa with a dirty move. He worked right around the defender Ross Buckman, but again, Cornell had the answer. A tick over 3.5 minutes remaining, and now the whistle comes in, and the flag will be assessed. A 1-minute penalty to Dobson Cooper of Vermont. It's the first man-up chance all day for the Jaspers. Not only have they only had one-and-done chances where they've been unable to get multiple possessions on the same trip. Manhattan has struggled with turnovers, and they haven't gotten any man-up looks. Part of where they're at their best offensively, they convert 40% of the time on the man-up. Six on 5 for the Jaspers. Will this be the moment where they beat Cornell for the first time in the fourth quarter? McKinney, Bowler, goal line extended Gukwa, feeds straight away McKinney, blocked out in front, friendly fire, that ricocheted off of his own man, and the Catamounts can clear it. That hit Nicolosi and did not reach the cage. Sharkey skipping across the midfield line, and the Catamounts again in control. 20 seconds remaining on the penalty to Cooper. Vermont led 9-2 at the half after that 8-0 run. Pope unaware, but look how hard he is to dispossess. The freshman Pope came in and took a whack from behind, but he just held it right in his cross. Charlie Pope, a future Catamount star, if not a budding one already as the true freshman. Vermont now really dipping into their bench with 2:20 to play, back at even strength. James Basile trying to go one-on-one around the short stick, O'Riordan. This is a fun matchup. Basile, O'Riordan, the best short stick defender on the Jaspers. That pass low, but backtracking and picking it up. Eli Zabukovic. Zabukovic feeds Pope. Pardon me, that's McCormack. Now Pope. 5 seconds to shoot for Jonas Hunter. He's got to go uphill. Wraps around. Hunter feeds Limoges. Underhand sling. Down low and scores. No, they wave it off. Too late. Limoges had celebrated for the second time today. Liam Limoges has a buzzer beater goal waved off. Still a 12-goal lead for UVM. I'm sure Coach Chris Fife's already in the back of his mind starting to visualize a matchup with Maryland. After winning the second consecutive conference tournament for UVM, they lost in their first ever NCAA tournament appearance a year ago against Maryland. Now they will get the rematch. The Catamounts take Cornell out of cage. That's Matt Schaefer, the backup to Ryan Cornell, getting some time in the last minute of the game. Turnaround from Walsh. That ball took a deflection, sailed high of Schaefer. It was headed down low initially, but then goes upstairs. So Ryan Cornell's day comes to a close. He makes 11 saves, just 3 goals allowed. Vintage stuff from the Catamount starting netminder. And now Schaefer in to close it out. Nicolosi, tough angle, and Schaefer makes the save. Just infectious work from the Catamount goalies. Shot clock will reset. It stays with Manhattan. But a low pass off the restart, and if that doesn't sum up the day for the Jaspers, I'm not quite sure what will. Manhattan does well on the ride, though. They get it back with 27 seconds to go. The Jaspers down by 12. This program continues to grow, though, folks. Drew Kelleher has got the Jaspers headed in the right direction. 5 seconds remaining. That pass too tall. Picked up by Nicolosi. Spinning around, down low. Shot blocked, and it's Vermont 15, Manhattan 3. The Catamounts win the opening round of the NCAA tournament. A trip to Maryland to take on the top-seeded Terrapins up next for the Catamounts. Dominant. The first ever tournament win for Vermont. Head coach Chris Fifes has done it in his 6th year at the helm. Vermont wins back-to-back tournament titles, and now they have won their first NCAA tournament game. Again, they'll take on undefeated, top-seeded Bad Dudes of Maryland. Again, it's at 12 p.m. on May 15th. Vermont, a dominant win over Manhattan. And if that's not a statement saying we are a team that can challenge anybody in the country, I'm not sure what will be one. I guess if they challenge Maryland, then everybody will be aware. But this Vermont team is a scary one. 15-3 the final. Cornell fantastic in net. He makes 11 saves on the day. Thomas McConvey stays on fire. 5 goals and an assist on the day for both McConvey and McCormack. And Liam Limoges with a hat trick next to his name as well. 15-3 the final. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Vermont beats Manhattan. I'm Brian McLaughlin. Talk to you next time for more lacrosse on ESPN+.